Winter is coming.
Might just be the cold.
Winter is coming.
It's cold outside.
You don't know cold.
Winter is coming for him.
It's either me or this cold, and it doesn't appear to be going anywhere.
And winter is coming.
You look cold, boys.
Tis a bit nippy.
Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
That's cold. Winter is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cold.
It's cold and it's wet.
Winter is coming.
You're crying because you're cold?
You're a long way from home. And winter is coming.
I imagine you might be rather cold.
And winter is coming.
No, that's all right, I'm fine.
You're not. You're freezing.
Well, I'd like to say that winter is here, but he's not just yet. So we're going to await the arrival of Mr. Russ Winter. In the meantime, I want to welcome you to the show. It's the Friday FARcast, and this is the show where people get to talk and I get to listen and ask them questions. And let me, where is Russ? You know, he's here. I know he's here. Let's see. They have actually upgrade. I don't want to. Okay, so he's supposed to be in the green room. And I don't know where the green room is because normally he just shows up. And let me see if I can somehow find the green room. Presenter invite. This is a pain in the ass. Russ, if you're listening, can you exit and come back again if you're hearing this, because I'm not seeing the green room option. It's a pain in the ass. People, one person, host, that's me. Let me send a text over to Twitter. Let's try this. You know, this is the thing that I complain about with technology. You know, they always have these supposed upgrades. And Israel has the right to defend itself. Thanks, Stephen, for the humor. Deaf to the IDF. Let's see. I wonder how long Stephen's going to be here today. We'll keep our eye on Stephen. Stephen, if you behave yourself, you'll be able to hang out here.
Okay.
All right. There you are.
Yeah, the Zoom's a little squirrely.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about, but here I is.
How are you?
All right.
It's been a while. It seems like it's been a while.
Yeah, I know. It's just like life just keeps flashing by is what it is.
How have you been, and how's life treating you in your part of the world?
Oh, are we on the air?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. I'm going to kind of maybe get into a little bit of men's health, older men's health. Nobody really talks about us older men.
It's true.
We
wind up talking to ourselves.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I guess I'm going to have a new endocrinologist, and apparently somebody that really works a lot with elderly, what I don't know what else to call it, elderly men.
Yeah.
Their testosterone levels, and it's kind of funny because I've kind of looked. I've just gotten testosterone. I've just picked it up. I'm going to be using it again.
How do you apply it?
It's called an androgel, and you just put a little squirt it onto your arm like this.
Oh, that's what Charlie Sheen used.
Yeah. It's I don't know why he would use it.
Well, he was going nuts. He was doing the androgel and copious amounts of cocaine. So,
well, you can abuse androgel, but if your testosterone is very low, see that I could kind of show you a chart of an aging man, an aging male. And you start out,
okay,
when you're 20, 30, 40, it just goes down and down and down and down. And then there's some men, including me, that even have lower testosterone than for my age.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not uncommon. And the challenging part is that we have these xenoestrogens and we have all these things in our environment that does not, I mean, there are stories of men years ago, like in the 50s and 60s, and they were, outdoors and kind of hardworking and blue collar, and they kept their testosterone around a lot longer.
Yeah.
We have all these environmental factors now.
Yeah, they're outdoors more. They weren't.
Yeah. Stephen Bennett has a nice suggestion here. He's a fan. Get on standard process Collinsonia root supplements. It supports vascular issue in urinary tract and bowels. So at least you can increase your blood flow into certain parts of your body, which I think is helpful. But yeah, man, I feel like, you think we have it challenging. The younger generation has testosterone levels of older men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. So it just you don't even quite know where to pigeonhole you. So yeah. I have a GP. I've been trying to figure out my doctor situation at Canadian Medical, and I have a GP, and the GP is not particularly concerned about testosterone. He says, yeah, your testosterone's low, but it's supposed to be kind of low, and that's just what you have to put up with. You have to just deal with it. I don't know what giving you a supplement is going to do. Well, I've had the supplements before when I was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I was getting pretty buff. And it's been a while since I've been buff. I have not been buff for a while. In fact, that's what's really gets me is that I can be in the pool for 6 months swimming and not really get that much of a response.
Yeah.
It's
harder to build muscle. You may also want to look into, some people call it creatine, right? You may want to look into some creatine, which does help build muscle mass. It does help with energy levels. And for older dudes like us, creatine is kind of a bit of a miracle supplement. So you may want to look. Some people will say, well, creatine also retains water and water buildup in the muscles. I think if you're exercising, though, you'll deal with that.
Yeah, I have been taking glycerin. I have the European pronunciation of it. Glycerin.
Well, there's glycerin, glycine. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things where at a certain point in your life, and this is for men and women, like magnesium is really critical. MSM is really critical. So these are like the kind of the building blocks, of life in general. Well, yeah, well, keep us apprised of your progress, Russ. How do you procure that? Does the doctor prescribe it for you? Or do you have to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal, except for you have to get the doctors to kind of go along with your program. Now your urologist is.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that you got to be a little careful because I've had prostate issues.
Yeah.
And sometimes this the prostate in particular just can suck up testosterone androgel like a sponge.
We've got such a smart audience here. Vance suggests Tomcat Ali, deer antler, velvet, pine pollen, liposomal and food-based vitamin C, and umeboshi, pickled plum. So there you go. Those are all things that you can add to your testosterone regimen right there. And I actually take most of those. So, yeah.
But anyway, there's something to be said for just feeling better. Not being totally
all the
time.
Yeah, and and your mind is still good, and and this is one of the things that men have a real challenge with as they get older, because we're physical beings, right? And women are physical beings too, but women are more emotional, and their quote unquote nexus is going to be more nurturing, emotional based. And don't get me wrong, there are women who bust their ass on farms and do yard work. So I don't want to just say, women are these, little, pressed flowers, because they're not. I mean, they can be, really vital human beings, but their nexus comes from the emotional space. So when they begin to lose some of their physicality, it's not necessarily the same impact that it has on men. Because as men, we're physical beings. And for the time that when we begin to degrade physically, we begin to look at our place in the world. And it's like, well, if we're not capable physically, then who am I? Right? Like, that's really the biggest. I mean, that's been kind of my existential dilemma, because, I went through this heart thing, and I'm still going through it. And for a period of time, I had like 35 pounds of water weight gain on me, and it was brutal. And it was just like, well, who am I? What am I doing? Is this going to be the rest of my life? And if this is going to be the rest of my life, then what the fuck am I doing here? Right? Like, so.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're old. You get to that point where things are kind of breaking down seriously.
Yeah.
But you need, I just think it's kind of hard in the system to find the right doctor or somebody that's going to work on your behalf. I think it's kind of coming together for me. But man, you really have to be an advocate for your own health.
Yeah. I mean, that's why a lot of people have just gone the alternative health route. And a lot of them are really well informed about what's out there and how to deal with certain things. So I agree with you.
The higher rates of prostate cancer. Be careful. Low T might. On the other hand, dealing with the low T might benefit the heart, because I have a theory that actually the heart gets kind of starved from low T.
Interesting.
So if your panels on testosterone are too low, it'll start to affect your heart.
I take testosterone. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I don't use the gel, but I get it every 6 months.
Just get a shot?
I get these pellets.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I get pellets, and they're good for 6 months, and I'm actually due for another round. So the issue with my heart is a bit more. I'm still trying to piece together like the mystery of it in some ways, because when my mother moved in, and then we'll get on with the show here in a minute. But when my mother moved in, she brought with her a whole host of symptoms, which I thought were, just endemic to her. And one of the things that I found out unfortunately, is that she'd been vaccinated. And from 2020 till 2023, I was under the impression that she had not been vaccinated. And when I would talk to her about it, she would never deny. She would never bring it up, And I would even say to her, "Hey, look, I'm really proud of you that you were able to go through life in California without being vaccinated." But little did I know, because I found something in her wallet when she asked me to look for something. I found her CDC card, and there they were, the 2 Pfizer vaccines. And I'm beginning to put the shit together in my brain. Right? It's like, oh, she got sick probably not long after she had the second booster. She started going in and out of the hospital. And one of the things she had was AFib and all this other stuff. And, the next thing I know, my mother passes away, and I've got almost the exact same symptoms that she had before she passed away. And I'm asking myself, well, is this a byproduct of whatever it is that she was shedding?
She contaminated your environment.
Yeah, man. She contaminated my youth, and now she contaminated my older age. I couldn't get away from it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Man.
So anyway, that's what I've been dealing with. And, I've got, I hate these conversations because I would always be on the outside looking in on these people talking about their health issues, right? Especially as I got older. And I would say to myself, fuck, it's going to be me one of these days. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time around it, but, I've got an echocardiogram coming up and some other stuff that I got to deal with. In the meantime, I'm dealing with, I am taking standard process and a lot of their supplements. I am taking a lot of alternative stuff. I'm heavy in the ubiquinol. I'm heavy into vitamin E. I'm heavy into fish oils. I'm heavy into magnesium. I've got all these things that I'm throwing at this. And even on the Chinese medicine side, I'm using some stuff and some homeopathic stuff as well. So it's not like I'm sitting back and just waiting for
nitrate oxide is critical
I have that. I take that
for the AFib.
I mean, you should see the amount of supplements that I've got. I could start my own fucking shop. So
maybe I'm just being selfish since I'm an old man and now I want to deal with my health. But I don't think it's totally selfish. I just kind of think that we don't really have good spokespeople.
Yeah, there are some. I think this is kind of breaking through now. It's going to be really interesting, and maybe this is a good transition for our conversation. But it's going to be a really interesting moment in time when this Obamacare thing expires, because that's where the Trump administration wants to go. And some people are saying, well, my insurance is going to go up and everything that's associated with it. But what they're finding out now is that in some instances, it's actually cheaper to go out of pocket to your doctor versus be through some of these medical programs and plans. And somebody brought up functional medicine doctors in the chat, and they're the ones to go find, because they operate outside of the insurance and the code, and they can help you. That's who I see. I see a functional medicine doctor. But if they have to go traditional, they can go that route. But this is going to be a really interesting time where people are going to be faced with quite possibly higher insurance premiums because of the Obamacare going out. So why don't we use that as a transition, and let's start our conversation about kind of where things are, and is Trump really making America great again? Well, what's happening with the industrial base? The employment numbers haven't been released since October. So Russ, why don't you take it away?
Well, my number one concern for the markets and the economy is this ridiculous bubble they have going, led by Chat GPT, who I love. I love Chat GPT. I'm not going to be.
Well, it's not just Chat GP. It's a whole host of
open AI. Yeah.
Well, there's open AI. There's Amazon. There's Google. There's X. There's about 6 or 7 companies that are all jockeying for the AI space. So this is really what this administration has hitched its wagon to.
So the question I have of OpenAI, which is going to spend $1 trillion building up this unsustainable infrastructure, is how they're going to monetize it. Now, okay, I admit that maybe I would become a subscriber to OpenAI. Mm-hmm. I think it might be a useful tool to have around. If I didn't have access to it, I would probably miss it because I can ask any kind of question of it. And it's just so patient. It kind of goes through the whole exercises with you. I was going through my blood work the other day on the testosterone and other things in my blood work, and just sort of went through it with this very gracious personality. So they're going to have to come up some way to monetize that and get people to pay big money to use OpenAI. But they've gone to this other thing called BOA. It's a new system that is just nothing but frigging animal videos.
What do you mean by that?
I'll give you an example. Somebody makes a AI video. It shows a guy going into an outhouse in Alaska, I presume, to take a dump, and then a bear comes in and mauls him.
And that's an AI.
Yeah.
And is that specific to a company, or is that a style of AI creation?
It's a style of AI creation that's available online. If you want to do some weird ass shit. Image making.
I think I've seen some of those. I think I saw
a lot of cat stuff.
Cats are, look, you wait around long enough with a smartphone, and you'll be able to capture some interesting cat content. Like you don't need AI for cats. But I think I've seen one of those. I think I saw this guy who had a pet wolf, and the pet wolf defended him against a bear. And I just thought, this has got to be some AI shit, right? It's like, how does he capture this? It just seemed like completely.
Well, people are trying to be creative. They're trying to use the new imagery that's available as a creative crutch. It's kind of an enhancement, but you still have to be kind of creative, and you got to come up with some decent stories.
Right. Well, I use it for image production. Like this collage behind me is AI, right? And I put in what I wanted to put in there, and it came up with some examples, and I've got a few backgrounds that I use. So I decided to use this today. So I don't think AI, this is the great philosophical conundrum, really, of our time. And I think getting back to your original point is, how are they going to monetize this? So I've thought about it. Let me lay this out there to you and get some of your feedback. So I feel like there's going to be levels of access with AI, right? There's going to be like the street access or the consumer access, which is us. And if we want to have like the service I use, Recraft AI, I get X amount of like images free per day. And I don't really use it for more than that. But if I wanted to use an AI to create videos like our friend David Palmer does, in many instances, you have to pay for the upgraded service. So there is your kind of consumer street version of AI. But I feel like where these companies think they're going to make their money is if they offer Fortune 500 companies versions of scalable AI that they can use for any facet of their business. And I don't think it'll just be a one size fits all. Oh, like BlackRock has Genie, right? Like, here's your Genie. No, you would have to buy various like facets of the AI that's available at a corporate level. And so I think they think that that's where they're going to make their money. It's going to be this white label service. It's going to be, corporate, and then corporate will then pass that on to the consumer, depending upon what they're making. But I don't know.
It's almost kind of like a concierge.
Concierge.
Concierge. You have a concierge service that can kind of.
So here I have a story here, and maybe we could use this as a kind of an example, and it's kind of in alignment with what you're talking about. Let me see if I can pull this up. While I was waiting for you, I found something interesting. Let's see. Hold on. And now I can't find the damn thing. Hold on, it should be on X. The story is about how Ford lost a bunch of contracts. Here it is. I found it. Hold on. It's GM. Let me get it back up here. Yeah, here it is. And this is a really odd story because it kind of crosses paradigms in some ways. So let me bring this up here. GM axes $102 million factory and lays off 1,700. Entire Midwest town faces economic blackout. So this is really fascinating in some ways. I'm going to read this and I'll let you riff on it a bit. EV sales lagged expectations. High costs, winter performance concerns, and limited new models. Come back to the beginning. Where did it go? Come on, don't do this shit. This is why it went away. Supplier shock, chain shock waves. They've got all these issues with this plant that they've had to lay off all these workers because the EV market is tanking. And one of the reasons it's tanking is because the environmental requirements have been changed. Plus, the Trump administration accelerated the expiration of the $7,500 EV tax credit to 30 September and reversed emissions rules. That's huge. The reversing of the emissions rules is for the AI stuff because they need to fire up these coal plants. And in some instances, they use these gas generators to keep these AI farms. They call them campuses now, to keep them up and running. The policy change is expected to contribute to 27% predicted decline in EV registrations, thereby directly reducing demand for factory zero vehicles. So one of the reasons why this is happening is because they've changed the requirements for emission standards. They need to lower them so that they can build this AI shit, right? So now you've got a sector of the economy that's tanking, which the previous administrations had really built up. Now, this is where if you were GM, you would come in and you would plug in AI. And AI would theoretically mash all this stuff together and come up with a game plan to get you out of kind of where you are now. But this is a suite of services that'd be sold to GM to help them get out of a situation like this. So, I mean, I think that's what these AI guys are banking on, is for, the management of crisis and the application of growth. I don't know if that's going to fly because it just feels like we're kind of in between these paradigms. What do you think about that story, that plant closing, and then these EP emissions being lowered because they need to build more of these AI plants. What do you think about that?
There's obviously a lot of corruption within your policy making. That's something you got to really look at too. You have a very, very corrupt system where there's no rule of law. It's just whoever's paying the gift, or what's the gambler term? Whoever's willing to pony up the money. But here's what I think. If AI is a bubble, what happens when it pops? Let's watch this. It's like a little YouTube. It's pretty funny. You see that on the list?
Let me go to your page. Let's see. There's a lot here. What is the date? What date do you have?
It's near the bottom.
Okay. I got YMCA. I got Candace Owens.
It's right above the Tony Bradshaw. Dad was hitting nothing but gold with every answer. Right above that.
Okay. All right, there we go. That's on your website?
It's in your DMs.
Yeah, I did, but it says Trump's efforts to reindustrialize the economy has been a disaster. Is that what we're looking at?
No, there's a little clip there on YouTube. What happens when the AI bubble bursts?
All right, hold on. No, that's not it.
I sent a fairly short list of stuff. I'm not.
Yeah, no. I'm just going through it. Let's see. I got pension funds misallocate.
Yep.
Here we go. Let's do this. There is. Okay, we got it. Thank you, people, for your patience. Let's bring this up here. Here we go. We have pay dirt there, right? You've got it queued up.
I've used my data center for training. It's often 18 months to 24 months. So now, again, we have the problem that given that 60% of the cost of a data center is the chips, and their lifespans are very short, the notion that we can build all of this and we'll figure it all out 4 or 5 or 6 years down the road. No, it's actually the reverse. You're going to have to make all those capital expenditures a second time, or most of what you spent previously will be useless for this reason of the relatively short lifespan of the technology underneath it, as opposed to canals, railroads, fiber optic cables.
So what we're saying is that at least with the railroads and the internet, they could build it out and companies would go under, but you still had the use of the infrastructure.
Right.
Here, because of the limited lifespan of the chips, you're not going to get that. You're just going to have to wash, rinse, repeat, and keep doing it over and over again. It's a never-ending cycle. So there's no payoff at all. In fact, it's like a treadmill where you're always trying to catch up with the expenditures put in.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels to me like, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but unless they're going to use this to completely enslave humanity and run the new banking system off of these data centers and all the surveillance off of these data centers. By the way, they're calling them campuses now. I don't know if you've noticed that, but campus is the new buzzword for data centers. That the problem with all of that is that if that's the long-term vision, first of all, we're fucked. But if that is not the long-term vision, then they're kind of like throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. And there doesn't seem to be any real long-range goals or long-term planning involved in this. I mean, even scrapping like EVs, or at least temporarily, because they need to lower the emission standards to power these things. Like they had set up, theoretically going all the way back to Obama, they had set up this green economy, renewables, all the wind farms, solar,
Yeah, and then that fails, and now they have to apply the new energy policies to everything else.
That's right. That's right. Because they need the energy to power these AI centers. So all that long-term planning that went into renewables kind of goes out the window, right? And it's like, okay, well, maybe are we going to invest in gas cars now? Because that plant,
it's going to require all this micromanaging, and micromanaging is just an opening for grifting and graft. I think that symbolizes the Trump era. Is who gets the grift, who gets the payoff. Who can fix things for you.
Yeah, I mean, just look at who's sitting at the table with him when he has these dinners or these meetings. I mean, you have all these big tech guys who are kissing his ass because they want tax breaks and whatever else the administration can give them, contracts, so that, they can build their data centers and do all this heavy lifting on our dime. That's why they're there. And Trump loves it because he's getting, well, first of all, he got a fair amount of money from these dudes during the election, but he's also making money on the side because they are guiding him through the crypto world as well. And so he and his family are making a shit ton of money. Eric Trump has a crypto farm. It's like, he had the cameras at his mining center, his Bitcoin mining center. He was like a kid with his train tracks. It's like, look at this. Look at what we're doing here. Yeah, you're sucking up all this fucking energy, right? For who? For you and your partners. That's who you're doing it for. You're not doing it for us. You're not going out on a limb, and we're not getting any of your mined Bitcoin. So this is what's going on. I totally agree with you. And it's very short term. That's how I see it. It's short term.
Well, there's this entity called MicroStrategy. I don't know if you've been following them. It's a huge bubble stock, and all of a sudden they've gotten hammered because crypto's come under pressure. And it's not really been a one-way street. In fact, it's been pretty choppy for the last year or so.
Once BlackRock got into crypto, it was over.
It just doesn't seem, it's not really making people any money. Maybe there's some people doing okay trading it, but it's not like this one-way engine to wealth. And I think that the allure has worn off, and they'll try to rally it artificially. But I think everybody knows there's a underlying putrefaction.
Yeah, but then once they rally it artificially, then they put the squeeze on it, and they get the dump, and everybody's late to the dump.
Yeah.
Right? And by the time they get to the dump, it's like they're fucked because all these other entities that knew the dump was coming got out. And so they wind up, being the whales that make the dump happen. But they were the ones that got out before the dump happened. I mean, this is like the stock market from the 20s all over again.
Yeah, there's okay. What do we got? What do we got to look at? Pension funds misallocate trillions, so they're going into the pension funds, and that's where they're getting the vig to invest in this stuff. So there's some transactions being made that don't have a lot of transparency to them, where money is being misallocated to these infrastructure builds. There's got to be some horror stories.
Yeah,
and the ability to cover all this stuff up is so amazing. They just got everything so locked down in terms of, the media really isn't present to cover anything, cover the the wreckage, where at one time maybe these stories would break and the markets might be affected. They just seem to kind of constantly put it on the back burner and cover up the fraud. But underlying, the people that are in this economy must know, if they haven't figured it out right now, they're either playing the game intentionally to try to make a buck. And everybody does that to an extent. I've done it myself in precious metals, silver and gold, which I've done very well in those investments, but they're sort of become kind of greater fool games after a while.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because, what else are you going to do? Because they're taking interest rates down to nothing again. You can roll into a 3.5% T-bill.
When is that going to happen? When is interest rates going down to nothing again?
They're trying. They were 5%, not a bad payoff for just fairly low risk money.
Right
now, it's like 3.7. So that takes.
Do you think that'll stimulate the housing market?
No, because the problem with housing is the price of the housing.
Yeah, they're over valued.
And the last time they got rates down this low, they ended up trapping people in the houses. People would get their mortgages and buy houses, but now they can't.
That was different because they had Glass-Steagall, right? And that was the trap, which they've removed that part of the equation now. So maybe the market.
Well, there was a period run rate after COVID where they super goosed up the housing market.
Yeah.
With really low mortgage rates.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, my son, he's never really owned a house. He and his wife, they're planning on having a kid, which they've had.
Yeah.
And so they're in Maryland and they go out and buy a house. And I go, well, I don't know. You get $500,000 for a house, and it's not bad. Nothing wrong with it. But they've already had to put quite a bit of money into it. Needed new decks and new heating. So they're constantly putting more money in it. But they've got this 3% mortgage rate that makes their monthly payment very low. And I said, well, you're not very mobile family, are you? If you were to pick up and move to a new opportunity, how would you pull that off?
Yeah. Well, the other side of this, though, is that thanks to Airbnb and BlackRock and a number of these other companies, that Airbnb, of course, on the consumer side, a lot of the inventory has been bought up, for third-party use, whether it's, vacationers or migrants, right? I mean, this has been a big part of the housing story. So that has driven up rents as a result of that. And I guess if you want to live in a stack 'em and pack 'em and, have that as your rental space, rents it's really difficult to find houses to rent now, and has been for a while. And when you do find them, they tend to be fairly high. So that's the other side of the story. If your son wanted to rent, it's got its own issues associated with it.
Yeah, but at least if you rent, you're not trapped in a house that you can't sell. Because
but you're at the whims also of the landlord, who may all of a sudden decide to sell the house. And
or screw you over. I mean, I'll tell you the story about my landlady here in Prague. I should just give her name. She's a rascal.
Let it out. Let's go dox her. Let's dox her.
Let's just spread this all over the world.
Let's show up at her door.
I move out and arrange to have the place cleaned up, put quite a bit of money into being a gentleman and taking care of my end of the move out situation. So then she comes up and declares that I left her place a wreck. It's like, what am I, a dog? Or how, am I a cat? I'm just an elderly man. How am I going to wreck your apartment? Right?
Yep.
And she just collected a 90,000 Corona deposit, all of it. Collected the whole.
Russ, that is more like standard operating procedure versus you getting, screwed over by your landlady. That happens all the time, because they know they've got your money, and if you're
a
lucky,
foreigner,
or even here in this country, I've experienced it on more than one occasion. And it's like, I remember at one point, the apartment complex that I was living in said, "Oh, don't worry about your apartment. We'll clean it up. We'll take care of it." And then they withheld my deposit, and then they went after me for their cleaning fees. And I'm like, "You're the ones that told me not to clean it up, right? What am I supposed to do? Oh, by the way, your janitor or your repairman stole my vacuum," which he did, by the way. So, I'd like that back. But it's not an uncommon story. They got you over a barrel. I mean, literally what you have to do if you're in a rental situation is when you move into a place, you have to do a video of the entire place, right? You have to do a video of the entire place when you moved in, if there's any blemishes, if there's anything, and then you have to make them aware of it. Once you move in, get it on the record. And then once you leave, you have to do another video. And here's where AI, now this would be a great AI tool, right? If you could have AI judge your exit cleanup video versus your entrance video and give your exit video a equal or higher rating than your entrance video, you could take that to them, right? That would be a service that some people would actually pay for, right?
Well, the thing is a lot of these renters are foreigners that they're coming in the country,
right?
They're trying to settle here. They don't really know how the system works. I kind of know how the system works because I was a large landlord at one point.
Yeah,
but I had to maintain some kind of a certain degree of reputation. Sure, I hung on to some deposits. Usually, I would just kind of take small amounts for a little extra cleaning. I wouldn't gouge.
Well, you're a dying breed.
I know.
I mean, this is what the parasitic system has done to us.
Yeah. I guess the only thing you can do is either go with a fairly established management team, maybe has a portfolio of apartments. I'm kind of looking at some in Maryland, perhaps, and just do a real background on what are these people like as far as returning deposits? What do they like to deal with? Are they just difficult people? This lady that I was renting for, I got into a dispute with her because she was gouging my cleaning fees. She's double charging me.
Yeah.
So she's got this foreigner living in here, and she's got control of the situation. Finally, it's kind of the end of summer. I didn't really need the use of the pool anymore. I was ready to clear out. And I confronted her. I said, I just think that you charge too much for the cleaning. It's probably at least 40% too much. And she couldn't handle that. She just, if you're a business person, you got to be able to handle a little pushback and not turn it into a personal thing where I'm somehow insulting you or lying about your staff. Your staff is fine. The problem is you, because you're the one that sends the bill. It's not the staff. So we're just sitting there in the office when I just kind of closed it out with this lady, and I said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to find my own cleaner," which I did very briefly.
Yeah. I mean, I look back on my time on renting. I can't remember a situation, whether it was the rental agent at the apartment or the rental agent at the agency that rented me a house. I can't remember a situation where any of those people were not women. They're all women. And I don't mean to cast aspersion on the fairer sex here, right? But it feels like these transactions can get emotional, right? They get emotional at times. And I've experienced that.
Yeah, you can't. And if you don't accept their bullshit, you're getting in big trouble with these women.
Yeah.
You really do. You can have pretty good relationships with these people until they start taking advantage of you, and you start noticing, well, this is a transaction I'm going to either have to alter and change up a bit, or I'm not going to be able to continue on with a business relationship. So then she just declares open war, and I have a delivery being brought up to the apartment through it's called Fedora, bringing food up, and she follows this delivery guy all the way up to my the hallway, up to my door, and declares in Czech that she speaks Italian and Czech, didn't speak English. This is another problem I run into a lot of times. And she declares that there's no deliveries allowed in her building. Can you imagine that?
Russ, maybe she wanted you and she was just frustrated. Maybe that was the issue. Did you spurn her, Russ?
Yeah, the day in her office when I said, I'm not paying your outrageous cleaning services, I did it.
Well, I meant maybe before that. Maybe.
And so after the incident, the incident with the delivery guy spoke perfect English. And she says, well, that's just not true. I deliver here all the time.
Oh, she had it out for you.
And I said, okay, Roberta, all right, you convinced me. I'm out of here.
You must have rebuffed her at some point.
Yeah.
Sounds personal. Hey, I've got this video of the pension stuff. Do you want me to play that?
Yeah, we could kind of go there because this is going to have repercussions. You can't do this type of stuff and just not have anything happen.
Yeah.
Buy commercial property and make it a legal residence. I bought an 8,000 square foot church for $40,000. I live in a palace.
Hey, Russ.
Yeah.
When did Tom Cruise become an accountant? Did he have a career change or something?
No. Yeah, it looks like Tom Cruise.
Here we go.
In the United States. And an article I just saw today from Bloomberg. It's a $17 trillion problem for public pension funds in the United States that have invested their retirees' retirement, into these alternative assets, right? So when you hear in the context of pension funds increasing their alternatives allocation, it typically refers to both private equity and private credit. I've been sharing a lot of the private credit stories in the last couple of weeks on the channel. How basically investors are running for the doors, demanding redemption, their money back because they're getting spooked because these lofty future expected returns and valuations have no basis at all in reality, and they're blowing up. So private equity is a little bit different from private credit. Let me give you the distinction. Private equity is when the pension takes a stake directly in a company. The lockup period is longer, usually 10 to 12 years. There's a higher risk, but of course, you're bargaining for a higher return upon the exit, down the road. Whereas private credit, either the pension is directly making loans or they're doing it through intermediary, let's say fund managers, right, to companies. The maturity dates are normally 3 to 7 years. supposedly there's a less or a reduced risk over private equity. And the returns, of course, come from your interest and fees. But we've been seeing what's happening with private credit and all this massive push into the AI infrastructure development, into distressed debt vehicles, which are, as I've been sharing, blowing up. I did a story a few days ago. I didn't even understand the scope of the pension exposure. I'm going to share that with you right now. It's massive. But about how that there would be staggering losses because of pension funds and life insurance companies committing massive monies to these alternative assets. So this one today out of Bloomberg, I'll share with you before I jump into the story. As always, humbly ask, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe so we can keep growing the community. I do welcome all of you and appreciate you watching.
So is this more to the story? You want to elaborate on it?
Oh, I don't know. That's enough. It's just people can listen to this. Sometimes I guess we don't really want to use the whole show up. But the idea is they're getting pension money. Obviously, they have to raise a lot of capital.
So, okay, now you're making a connection between these private equity dealers or agents, and they're dipping into the pension funds, and the pension people managing these pension funds see like the investment in AI or the data centers as something they can ride, increase the percentage of the value of their pension funds for their pensioners. Is this what's going on here?
No, because part of the equation that they're missing is that this investment is a bottomless pit. The chips only lasted about 2 or 3 years.
No, what I'm saying is this is what he's talking about. Whether or not it's a long-term valuation, that's a different story. So what they're doing is these pension fund managers are taking the money of these pensioners and investing them into short-term gains in the AI space.
Or not even that. I mean, I question whether it's even short-term gains, because they're going to be facing a obsolescence wall within 2 or 3 years. They're going to need to go out and replace the chips with newer chips and continue that cycle. And those are very expensive investments. And sure, the technology will improve a little bit over time and get better and better. But it's the curve on it is they're always going to be behind the curve.
Well, this sounds like a disaster in the making. This
is of course.
This is like the mortgage fraud and the mortgage scam all over again, but hitting pensioners and retirees.
Yeah, it's getting some interesting comments today. People kind of like this real estate stuff.
Good. Well, this is part of your toolkit. Like, you're good at breaking down the money thing. What else you got for us?
Just watch this little clip of Terry Bradshaw. This is funny. It's a little comedic breakdown.
Okay.
So this is the great quarterback, Terry Bradshaw, who, is a big personality.
Right. He's on, looks like he's on Family Feud.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me bring it up here.
People kind of love the guy, so he's always he's just a good old boy. Where is he from? Florida or someplace? Alabama?
He's from Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay, you got the sound on?
Hold on. Sometimes this is a glitch with StreamYard. For whatever reason, the sound should be on. I'm not showing any disconnect with the sound. Let me play it again. I'll reboot it. Give me 1 second.
Steven says owned 4 apartments for 10 years, never lost a
My
penny.
other gorgeous daughter, Rachel. My other gorgeous daughter, Lacey. Not bad.
You got any sons?
No, that I know of. No, I got 2 son-in-laws, one little bitty dude and another one big old tall skinny dude, and I got another one trying to be a son-in-law. He ain't in the circle yet. You know what I'm saying?
He might not make it.
No, I told him today, you don't even have a foot on the line yet, boy.
Is he here?
Yeah, he's right over there. There he is, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who's he dating?
He's dating this one.
Me.
Oh, how long y'all been dating?
We've been dating like 3 months.
Yeah, he ain't in the circle. I don't know anything about him, to be honest with you.
You don't know nothing
anything
about him. Why is he here?
She wanted to bring him.
Oh, okay.
I made him fly coach, though. He ain't in the circle, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Man. I apologize.
Oh,
For that. I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, this is my favorite daddy, man.
She's embarrassed. That's pretty funny. So I used to know these people who were really, really good craftspeople. They would set up at these like country fairs, Renaissance fairs, and they did all their own designs and all their own jewelry. She did a fair amount of it. Some of it they had done overseas by family members. And they would have these great booths. And this was, kind of during the COVID period. And Terry has some kind of, I don't know, like internet show with his family, the Bradshaw Bunch, I think it's called. And they were shooting, this is up in Dallas, I think, because Terry lives here in Texas. By the way, he was partially responsible for bringing back the wild hog in Texas. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, so Terry Bradshaw brought wild hogs to Texas a long time ago, and we've got a wild hog issue here. You actually get paid to shoot the wild hog, but that's
oh, really? Yeah.
He was responsible for that. So anyway,
he's some cracker that basically brought in a bunch of foul animals.
Yeah, and now a couple of them have wound up in my refrigerator, and they've been actually pretty good eating. So they wanted them to be on the Bradshaw Bunch because they were at this fair and it was part of this episode, and they were going to showcase their jewelry because the daughters really liked the jewelry. And what happened is that the stipulation is that they needed to wear masks, and they would not wear masks because this is kind of around COVID time, right? And even though it's Dallas and Texas, and they were able to kind of maneuver their way through the system, right? And the guy who was producing the show was shocked. Like, you mean you're going to pass up an ability to be on Terry Bradshaw's show and show your wares just because you won't wear a mask? And they said, yes, that's true. So that's what happened. They chose their principle over their product in that moment. What do you think of that, Russ? And what would you have done? Would you have put the mask on for 15, 20 minutes when the Bradshaws were there?
Well, probably. Probably the idea of wearing a mask is not it's not a life-threatening situation for you. It's more of a gesture.
Yeah.
And if you're being invited on the show and that's their rule to do a shooting, then I would comply. I don't think it'd be that difficult.
I'd like to ask chat. I want to see where chat is on this. Let me look into the comments. Chat, where are you? You have to do a 60-minute shoot because there's probably going to be some retakes, and you're going to be on Terry Bradshaw's internet show, and your jewelry is going to be seen, and people are going to be turned on to your product. Do you not wear the mask out of principle and risk that, or do you put the mask on for the sake of the business? Let's see what we have here. This is going to say a lot about my people. Here we go. Let's see.
Everybody's
California Contrarian, no fucking way. Dead Wolf, never. Snarlerade, no muscle. PMSO, no. Farside, not going to wear it. The lovely and talented one, no. Catherine Falker, no mask. Carolyn Wallace, no.
Yeah.
Trump, I'm sorry, Trump. Russ, we got a majority here, Russ. Right? These are folks that are not going to sacrifice their.
So let's just go throw away the opportunity of making good living on something or some money.
I love Steve. Steve is so funny. Shove your mask up your ass. I love that. Steve with the killer wit coming in. Catherine says, I was let go from a job because I wouldn't wear it. Wow. Good for you. I hope you got it back. Wendy.
Well, I was always cheating a lot, when you in public where you have to have the mask on because it was really enforced here. And I would constantly not comply. I'd have the mask down and I would be spotted by police and they would tell me to tighten up my mask. But what are you going to do? Follow me around to make sure I'm wearing my mask properly. So, I didn't want to be arrested. So, I'd put the mask back on. And then once they went around the corner, I'd have it back off. I'd wear it around my chin all the time.
Yeah.
There are other forms of protest.
Me and the lovely and talented were we were radicals during that time. And there was one time we went into Costco in San Antonio. And San Antonio was really masked up. And I would go into gas stations and shit without masks. And the look on the gas station attendants would always be like bug-eyed. Like, you're not wearing a mask? You're not wearing a fuck? No, I'm not wearing a mask. So one time we went to Costco and everybody was wearing a mask except for us. And we walked in and the guy at the door just let us go in. And he smiled at us like, good for you, right? And this woman behind us, we could hear her. She said, I can't fucking believe it. You let them in without a mask. It's like, yeah. Because
there was kind of sympathy for not enforcing. And it was here. Now, I'll tell you what they did here. They came up with a rule that you had to show your vaccine certificate. They give you a vaccine certificate. And I wasn't going to get that. I wasn't going to go around with a certificate. And so you couldn't go into a restaurant. And I would test it out. I would show up to my regular restaurants. And I went in one of them, and the guy asked to see my validation ticket card that I'd been vaccinated.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't have that. And the guy had a look on his face like, oh, my God, really? He looked kind of hurt because he didn't really want to turn me away because I was a regular customer.
And it's just all buried in the past now, the landfill of history.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, it never happened. No, it did happen. And in some ways, it's still happening.
Yeah, that was a really weird period. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to last long. It just fizzled out pretty quickly.
It lasted long enough. Trust me.
I guess
it lasted long enough. Yeah. Yeah. It lasted long enough to trigger one of the greatest migrations in U.S. history because people were leaving places like California, Oregon, Washington. There was a mass migration to Florida where people, from New York and other states, we got a shit ton of people that moved into Texas. So it wasn't very long, but it moved a lot of bodies around. I can guarantee you that.
And it also set off an era of cheap money and low interest loans and buying $500,000 houses on 3% mortgages.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other side of this. I mean, one can make a case, and perhaps because of your experience in the financial world, that a lot of the inflation and money problems we're experiencing are because of the fact that we're still downstream from all the money that was printed during COVID and then released into the system. Right? Do you have any insight into that?
Well, they clearly released a lot of hot money into the system and did a big boost in the housing market. Now, consider this: the government market is in the Washington D.C. area is under attack. A lot of layoffs occurring.
Yeah.
So, what happens if my son all of a sudden gets notice and or his wife gets notice that you're redundant because we've got AI now. We don't really need you. So he still has to service that 3% mortgage. All of a sudden, overnight, it becomes difficult. Now you could go to mom and dad and maybe get some, monthly payments from his mom and dad. People are going to do that type of thing to forestall the problem. But if you got a 3% mortgage, you can't really walk from that, and you have to kind of either sell, because you will have some equity build up with a 3% mortgage. That's the good thing about those mortgages. In fact, I was looking at his amortization schedule, and it really starts to build up after 4 or 5 years of ownership, 6 years, so that you actually have some skin in the game. It's pretty unique about that type of interest rate.
Right. Yeah.
So from a financial point of view, maybe it work out, but you're sure putting yourself at the mercy of quote unquote events.
Right. What else you got? You got anything else in your
Let's go through the around the webs. We haven't done that for a while.
Okay. I think I have it up here.
And you're right about Twitter. Twitter has changed in the last month or so. It really has.
Yep.
It's kind of
let's do it.
They're sort of covering things up.
Yeah.
They're engaging people in the same ways about the genocide, but they're kind of deflecting and putting it into feuds between different figureheads. Candace is feuding, and Nick Fuentes is feuding all the time. Nick Fuentes can't say anything nice about Tucker. A lot of that going on.
I mean, look, I followed this stuff like it's a freaking soap opera, and Tucker could have left Nick well enough alone after he'd had him on his show, but he didn't. He would kind of talk about him and do these backhanded insults, and he wasn't talking directly about Nick, but you knew he was talking about Nick. It's like, why are you going there?
Because there's pressure on him.
Well, I think that's part of it. I also feel like he doesn't want Fuentes to run the dialogue. Like, he doesn't want him to be in charge of the narrative. And I don't know if you saw when Tucker had Nikki Haley's kid on. Did you see that?
No.
It's actually a pretty good show. He had Nikki Haley's kid on, a young man, about 25 years old, really bright, completely unlike Nikki Haley, and based. That would be the word that would kind of go along with his perspective. And it was almost like Tucker was going out of his way to find somebody of that generation who wasn't Nick Fuentes and could sort of be the Nick Fuentes without the rough edges. And it's like, why? I mean, I get it. This is good. You can basically show that, the offspring of a parent whose political beliefs are wacko, over the top Zionist worship, that her kid has a very different point of view of the world. I think it's great. It gives younger people more confidence.
It illustrates a lot that that kid could come on there and say what he did.
No, I totally agree. But on the other hand, it's also like, hey, he's not Nick Fuentes. He's nice. He doesn't drop the N-bomb. Yeah, he's not an anti-Semite, right? Because Tucker, even though he would probably quibble with the term anti-Semite, I think he would probably put Nick in the Jew hate camp, right? Like, that's what I think. And, and I've been having this discussion offline. It's like, you've got these three parties. Why don't you fucking get together and figure out where you can connect and where your messages do overlap? You have a triple Venn diagram, because you're taking up probably about a third of the internet when you're doing that. But instead, there's this constant kind of backstabbing and
I use
that goes on.
I use X for content, like for news development, something that's interesting, as we'll go through the stories that we're going to cover now. That's what I use it for. I'll spot something and put it up there.
Yeah.
So I'm not that interested in the infighting between these different characters. Some of it's kind of interesting. I'm willing to cover it to a point, but it's become too dominant. The issue of Gaza has slipped away. Now you had the Miss Rachel incident. I don't know if you've been following that.
Oh God, fill us in. The person who's like at the hit list at the top of the ADL and the anti-Semite of the year, right? Is that who you're referring to?
It's just like just about the most. This is my granddaughter's, greatest person my granddaughter knows of at 2 years old.
And Miss Rachel has been speaking out against the genocide in Gaza.
Yeah, well, Miss Rachel teaches young kids, little kids, language, storytelling, songs. I mean, it used to be, Mr. Captain Kangaroo. She's kind of a variation of that.
Mr. Rogers, kind of.
Yeah, sort of like that. And she's kind of syrupy, but always got a big smile on her face and just interacts with the kids. And you can see my granddaughter interacting with Miss Rachel. There's just a lot of love there. She really captures the little kids because she knows the zeitgeist of kids that age. And so naturally, she's going to be a champion for children being impacted by genocide. How could she not be? And good on her. Well, she's been targeted as somebody's, mind your own business type of thing.
Yeah, I think the ADL named her the anti-Semite of the year, right?
Well, that's going to backfire because they're organizing around getting her the honor. And it looks so ridiculous to make her the anti-Semite of the year. It's just a joke.
Well, that's the way these things are going now.
Yeah, so if she actually gets the nomination, people will look at it on his face and go, "Why did he even put her on that list to begin with?" And obviously they've turned it around on you and organized her, making her the winner.
Yeah. So here's an X post, which is
it just goes to show how these Jews have really lost the narrative on stuff.
From nursery rhymes to Hamas lines. Ms. Rachel.
Yeah.
Stop Anti-Semitism is calling on Attorney General Bondi, to investigate if Ms. Rachel is being funded by a foreign party to push anti-Israel propaganda to skew public opinion. Since 10/7.
So they're accusing her of being funded by Qatar, which I find highly unlikely.
Okay, so this is really interesting. Because they hate her because she's getting into the brains of the kids that they want to brainwash and get them to come over to their side and see the world politically through their eyes. She's even more dangerous than Nick fucking Fuentes.
It's because she speaks to 2-year-olds better than any of these Jews do, because a 2-year-old has enough humanity to know that she's standing up for other little kids just like them.
So this is an interesting stat. These are the things that they're promoting. A starving child from Gaza, which was actually a cystic fibrosis case. Like, there are no starving kids in Gaza? Like, they found the one starving kid in Gaza and might have had cystic fibrosis
What they did is they found a photo of somebody that was particularly affected by hunger. That had
right. And could it be possible that maybe they were hungry and had cystic fibrosis?
Right.
Maybe the cystic fibrosis was brought on by extreme hunger and damage to the immune system.
So I'm sorry that doesn't fit your exact model of.
Now, this next one, we got to go to this next one. Hamas's false stat of 14,000 kids killed, 72% deaths are combat age men. Well, what about the other 28%? What about the other 28%? And what is combat-aged men? Now, if you're Israel, combat-aged men could be 10, 11 years old if they've got some kind of a suicide bomb, right? Based on whatever their stats are. So even their numbers of what combat-aged men are probably skewed. Fake cold deaths. Photos circulating at this time online were of frostbite were taken from Wikipedia while the temperatures were warm. Claims Israel is indiscriminately bombing kids despite Israel taking extensive measures to minimize civilian casualties. Accusations of Israel blocking aid in violation of Geneva Convention, despite 1.7 million tons delivered. It may have been delivered, but doesn't mean it gets to the people.
Right, and it doesn't. And 1.7 million tons doesn't really scratch the surface.
Right. Is someone funding Ms. Rachel?
It's really disingenuous, stupid shit, really. And
but
Miss Rachel doesn't even have to respond. Why would she even get dragged into the little tit for tat with these people? But it just makes them look bad. I can't believe how the Jews have totally destroyed themselves.
This is not a good look. Not a good look. And whenever they do this, it seems to be the Streisand effect, right? They'll come out, they'll make these statements, they'll just, go to the wall with it, literally and figuratively. We'll go to the wall with it. There's no room for any kind of nuance. There's no room for any kind of discussion. There's no room for any kind of debate. And then what happens is that it just comes right back to them and tenfold. So it's a full-on Streisand effect.
Yeah, thank you for attacking this, Rachel. It's just laughable. Because I was introduced to Miss Rachel through my granddaughter, so I know who she is.
That's wild, man. That's totally wild.
Obviously, Miss Rachel is a heroine to me.
And she outpaced Tucker Carlson for that.
Because there's an organized effort to give her the votes to just make a mockery out of it.
Well, it's because the kids are so young. They don't want those kids growing up with this kind of awareness of what's happening in Israel. Oh, that's why she's being targeted at that level. She's got all of these minds that are captured. Wow. That's heavy. All right. News around the web. Where do you want to go?
Okay. Meme of the day. I don't know, man. I'm starting to doubt that this bloated surveillance state war machine run by the ancient demonic cult of child rapists can be fixed by voting.
That's all right. So that's different. can you see the screen? I've got news around the web.
Over on the right side is a meme of the day on the right column.
All right. Let's see.
And so the next story is Ben Shapiro is now at the begging people to get offline stage.
Yeah, let's look at that. So this is from, let's play this.
Yeah, blame all this stuff on Qatar. That's another funny one. Like Qatar has some kind of a marvelous propaganda machine that they instinctively play. Not playing. Robert, whatever you got going is not playing.
All right, hold on. Hold on. That's weird because I was watching it. Hold on. Ugh. Try it again. Here we go. Tell me if you see it. Because sometimes when I do a screen share with StreamYard, it doesn't show up. You tell me if it's playing. The playing?
This is my.
Yeah.
Sounds like it should go.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. Don, look at us come together. As soon as so the reason I say this is because the TikTok and X algorithms in particular program for.
Is that Barry Weiss right there?
Yeah, these are all these conferences they've had. I'm calling it Jewish conference fatigue.
It's just a bunch of people talking to themselves.
Yeah, they're always Jewish conferences, Jewish organizations, and they meet and pontificate about these issues.
And these are like circular conversations that they're having amongst themselves and hoping somehow that they can convince fence sitters in the middle of the room or middle America that their point of view is valid and true.
Well, they're worth watching because they make so many mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, again, the idea of blaming this on Qatar is just not really thinking this through very correctly. What you got to blame, the Jews have just got to blame it on themselves. They don't need propagandists.
And so they are programming for what is the strongest response, the strongest emotional response. Absolutely can be manipulated by outside actors. You've actually seen quite a bit of this on both TikTok as well as X. But people who are then in the real world use that as a substitute for polling. For example, so you see politicians, and if they get a lot of retweets, they think what they're saying is popular, and then they do more of it. And so you'll see it bleed over into the real world. Trends that you would never get if you just walked around and talked to normal humans suddenly start popping up when you talk around with normal humans because they've been watching it online and it's been really, really pushed. And so, you know, when people say, how do we get back to normal? My
well,
first
pause for a minute. So notice how he says it's really, really been pushed. Now, what I've observed is these assholes themselves pushing it.
Well, they have an agenda they're pushing.
Yeah, that's what's been pushed on people, and people can see what they say, the words that come out of their mouths, their expressions, and their narratives, and it just blows up on them constantly. Just dozens, and it's just Jewish conference fatigue.
Well,
it's really a weird phenomena to watch this happening.
I mean, let's reverse engineer this a little bit, okay? Let's say, for instance, Ben Shapiro and the mainstream Jewish/Israeli message was the one that was going viral, right? Maybe if we flip it and that the algorithms were actually supporting theoretically what they were talking about, do you think we'd be having this discussion? No, they'd be singing the praises of the algorithms because the algorithms would be reflecting their political or personal or philosophical stance. But now the algorithm is the bad person or the bad entity because the algorithm is reflecting the amount of people that are talking about a particular subject. The algorithm itself can be manipulated. We know that. It happens on YouTube all the time. But in some cases, there can be a net neutrality with an algorithm. And that if you are somebody who is got a platform or a service, and there are a bunch of people that are piling on something, and that algorithm supports it, and you have advertising, you're going to support that algorithm because that algorithm is driving an economic function. It will drive more ads. It will drive more eyeballs. There could be more click-throughs. So that's the whole idea behind algorithms, picking something up and making them viral. They are literally ad-driven and are economic machines for the platforms that are using them. And so really what's happening, besides the fact that algorithms can't be manipulated, is that the algorithms are just reflecting the popularity of the discussion. That's it.
So Shapiro goes full circle and says, quit watching this stuff.
Right. Let's play this out.
Industry should be saying, which is get offline, like actually turn off your phone and go to a place with actual human beings and have conversations with
actual human beings.
You know, for
that would exclude him, by the way.
I don't know what Ben. I don't know what circles you frequent. I think I can imagine, but having conversations with actual human beings, really, I think if you actually had conversations with actual human beings, you'd really be shocked, or probably you are, and you just ignore it. You just pretend
I would question if he's an actual human being. The next thing you know, he'll say, people need to go live with the Amish. They need to return to the Amish principles of life.
He's just gaslighting everybody. Go to someplace where you're living where you're around actual human beings and have
a real conversation with a human. What if that real human has the same point of view that you do? Yeah, it's like fuck these motherfuckers, and they're thought police, and they're thought policing of the internet, and their overwhelming influence on our government, our media. Does he really want that? And how many people is he referring to? What happens if you get about 15, 20, 30 people in a room and they're all having the same discussion? How would Ben feel about that then? Would he want to control that? Well, you can't really meet with 15 or 20 people. You've got to keep it down to one or two.
Well, there's a very revealing signage in this clip. And it shows the word Reuters.
This is where I make my non-religious religious pitch. Everybody needs a form of Sabbath. You should get off your phone on Friday night. You should get back on your phone on Saturday night.
So we're supposed to follow the Sabbath now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just be a good Jew like me and get off your phone from Friday night to Saturday night.
And just be completely disconnected from everything that's going on and be in a place where everybody who is,
not an anti-Semite.
Yeah, everyone that in your circles.
Yeah, make sure that the people you're connected with from Friday to Saturday don't have any wild-ass political opinions.
Bonding over values and over shared things.
What if the values and the shared things are the things that they're sharing online?
Yeah.
Like, who...
There's noticing that we're sharing. We're noticing things.
The hubris of this little man knows no end. Right?
The more online we are, the more polarized we are. And I think that's been the opposite of the way that we viewed politics for decades in the country. The more informed you are, the better the electorate's going to be.
No, there was just more top-down messaging.
Right. I actually kind of think that this process of online clips like this, like these Jewish conference fatigue, is very revealing. It doesn't really require a brilliant mind to just listen to a guy like this. It's just start shaking your head and going, what is he even?
He looks like a little gargoyle, doesn't he?
His awareness level is so low. They really need to bring in somebody that's a little bit more in gear with the reality of the situation.
Look, he has been bullshitting the people for such a long period of time, and he thinks that if he can speak about something with authority, as if this is the one of the commandments, and speak at a clip where you're not going to be able to get a word in, that it's going to pass for a truth. Like, that's what he's created. He's created this kind of vibe that he is the Sanhedrin. He's got the final say on everything. He is the final authority. And if he says it with enough authority and in his mind enough of clarity, he will speak it into existence.
And there's a signage behind him, Reuters, the source. How subliminal is that?
Reuters is owned by the Rothschilds, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
And it turns out that because our informational ecosystem is so polluted, and because it is actually programming to the id inside all of us, what that means is that probably
Going to drop a little Freud, of course.
the more time you're spending on X or the more time you're spending on TikTok, maybe the less informed you are, and also the more polarized you are, and the more out of touch with reality you are.
That's true. People think that they live on, I have a producer who lives on Twitter. And every time I ask him for something, he goes to Twitter. And I said, do you ever do research other than Twitter?
Touch some grass.
Yeah, touch some grass. But I do. It's interesting that Ben.
Is that Don Lemon?
I don't know.
I think that's Don Lemon.
You say that because I do.
Yeah, it's Don Lemon.
Every single day.
Yeah, this is CBS News. This CBS purchased by what's his name?
Larry Ellison.
Now he's going to lose his ass on these investments.
Did you see that Netflix just bought Warner Brothers and another company? Did you see that?
Yeah, they're going to lose their ass, especially CBS. It's just turned it into.
How does Netflix, which is always in the red, go out and buy these major media stakes? It's mind blowing. Don Lemon is the biggest grifter. He's a total grifter, and now he sees the greatest opportunity to grift just sitting to his right. And let's hear the rest of this.
At 10 and 5, and I tell them between that, they can be informed without being inundated. They can read, and until then, I tell them until I see you at 5 o'clock, turn the TV off.
Could you imagine being stuck in an elevator with Ben Shapiro and Don Lemon? That would be like, Jean-Paul Sartre, nausea. It would be like an existential hell like no other. Being stuck in an elevator with these two. All right, what else you got, Russ?
They really don't really show good examples of what they're talking about. They just blurt it out as if
they just talk shit like it's gospel.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
Okay, next we have starting in December 16th, Meta will begin reading your DMs.
All right, let's see that. You mean they haven't been reading them all along?
Apparently not. They've kind of rolled out the ability to start processing it, sopping up the data.
Maybe they're just announcing it because they want to make it official versus the unofficial reading of your DMs. All right, here we go.
The thing about Meta is it's kind of it's a community approach. So you have these people that are on different.
Well, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, right? That's what the.
But by and large, people are talking to other members of their community, so there's some loyalty there.
Yeah,
and so it's not just a free for all.
Yeah, not like Twitter. All right, here we go.
Starting December 16th, Meta will start reading your DMs. Every conversation, every photo, every voice message fed into AI and used for profit. So here's how to stop it. Now, they make this intentionally difficult on purpose, and you can only do this on desktop. You cannot do this from the mobile app. So first, you're going to visit privacycenter.instagram.com, and it's going to take you to this page here. And what you want to do is you click on other policies and articles, and you'll see where it says how Meta uses information for generative AI models and features. Click here. And the third option is privacy and generative AI. You open this, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see it says, whether you use Meta products or not, anyone can submit requests related to their personal information from third parties being used to develop and improve AI at Meta. You click on learn more and submit requests here. And this is the form that you want to submit. So you click this, fill out this information here, and send this. And this is how you submit to opt out of Meta using your information to improve their AI services.
Okay.
Wow. So I'm going to put this in the chat because I know there are people that
starting December 16th, Meta
that use Facebook. Let me and Instagram. So let me put this in the chat for folks if they are still doing those services. And,
So yeah, they're going to start monitoring you. And meanwhile, they're going to lecture you about getting a life. That's a big part of it. Get a life. Get out of your basement. Oh, that's the other one Ben goes off on. Call them these the awakening masses, basement dwellers.
So I just put that link in chat. If people, I don't use Meta product. Yeah, I stream, like right now I'm streaming on Facebook. But that's about the only thing I mean, every now and then I'll make a comment or post something, but yeah, I kind of moved away from Facebook a long time ago. All right. What else, Russ?
Fairly big story that Douglas McGregor's been talking about. They're revealing that the U.S. officials are preparing to evacuate Zelensky to Israel.
Did you hear this story that he was almost assassinated by the drones? What do you make of that?
Oh, there's got to be some truth to it. How could there not be? How could the security around him be that strong?
Feels like this guy's kind of overstayed his welcome. Like the script is running out on him.
So if you hit the link, and this is a big part of it. Oh, I thought I had this on there. Okay, so he had three leading officials.
Here.
I think there are preparations to fly Zelensky and much of his inner circle to Israel, where they have immunity against extradition for criminal proceedings, and that's what they're going to need when they finish up in Ukraine. They've got one foot right now in Ukraine and the other foot really in the door of the aircraft to fly them out. People don't realize how weak and fragile this Ukrainian government is. Earlier today, I received some information from Eastern Europe, and I was told that people are coming out of the basements and homes in Prokhovsk, and they're saying, to the Russians, thank God, let's get this over with, help end this war. And many of them are saying what initially back in 2022 in February, March, April, were saying in Luhansk and Donetsk, what took you so long? I think increasingly the population that lives in eastern Ukraine and much of the population in the West desperately wants an end to this war. And they realize it will only end with one outcome. That is the elimination of Zelensky and his regime.
So what do you think the timeline is on that?
Very soon. Very soon. I just don't see how he can hold it together.
Are you eating?
Now,
are you eating?
Will they just replace him another hardliner?
What are you eating?
No, I'm sorry.
If you're going to eat, you got to tell us what you're eating.
Nice little beef steak. Okay, we got another story.
I'm gonna change the show next time. Dinner with Russ.
Yeah, I've gotten kind of casual here, haven't I?
Yeah, we'll just lay out like a 7-course meal.
I used to show up all buttoned down.
We'll share. You'll share your 7-courser.
Next thing you know, I'm going to have my feet up on the
Russ, you
table.
Need a cat. You need a cat, Russ.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you this one. I'm going to send you this cat. That's my Christmas gift to you. Right there. You have to send me your address. I'll send her over, pick her up at the airport.
So what happened with the Ukraine is that they've already, 3 of Zelensky's top goons have already fled to Israel on corruption.
Is that on the around the interwebs as well?
Yeah, this covers it a little bit. Our tax dollars in Ukraine, the Ukraine corruption situation. There's a clip there.
Okay, let's check it out. Let's see. The Ukraine corruption situation. You mean there's corruption in Ukraine? You got to be kidding me. How could there ever be corruption in Ukraine? All right, here we go. It's so easy to get jaded around all this shit.
I know, it just gets to be a total joke. And then you have to sit here and put up with the statements they make.
And right. And there are people who actually take this shit seriously. Not us, but there are people who probably listen to Ben Shapiro who take this shit seriously. All right, here we go. So this is his lifestyle, right?
And it's also of his associates. You notice the names are there as well. What is corruption? Like then it says Yashala,
Yaroslav Memcher.
And
I want to play it again without the annoying bass. So there he is. He's rubbing his nose because he's high on coke. And these are
all right. There's the various goons involved.
So it would be great if we could slow this down, but we can't. But these are all the houses that they live in. God, war has been good to them, huh? Look at that.
Now, there's one common denominator about all of Zelensky's cronies. They flee to Israel.
So they're dualies, and they're not going to get extradited. And then these are their cars that they're scooting around in, or these Zelensky's cars in particular. That seems like a Zelensky car.
Yeah, I'm amazed they haven't tagged this guy, assassinated him. I'm just shocked that he hasn't been assassinated.
And we have been sending them money and laundering money to them for since 2022 now. So it's going to be going on 4 years where this country has been a sieve, an absolute drain on our resources. And let's be honest, nobody gives a shit about Ukraine anymore. Remember, people were flying Ukrainian flags, and they'd have a Ukrainian flag next to their name on Twitter. Like, nobody gives a shit. Like, the war has gone on too long, and whatever kind of fake outrage people had towards Russia, it's over. It's gone. You can only run that outrage for about 3 to 4 months, maybe 5.
I haven't seen a Ukrainian flag here in ages.
No,
used to be Ukrainian flags all over the place.
Yeah, the people that actually thought they cared, they don't care anymore, right? And in some ways it's good, in some ways it's not good, because the not caring part allows them to continue to run the program. But the not caring part is also like, well, we don't give a shit about what happens. We're not invested. So nobody cares anymore. It's like, we're over. We're done with it. And the Ukraine war came on the heels of COVID. They needed something else. The Biden administration needed to exit COVID. They needed a new thing. And Ukraine became the new thing. And it was the perfect new thing because it wasn't here in the United States. It was somewhere else. They could control the information. They didn't have to have reporters, no boots on the ground. They can make up their stories. They can bring Zelensky over. They could continue to turn the Russians into the bad guys, which is a narrative they've been working on since Obama was in office. So, but nobody cares anymore. And that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing at the same time. Because we should care. I mean, this guy should probably be strung up for war crimes, for fleecing the American people and the people of Europe. The EU has bent over backwards for this dude. That's kind of coming to an end now. Am I right?
I hope it's coming to an end, but it could be that the EU is going to have to step up and absorb all this and get really involved in warfare with Russia. And Putin pretty much just said, "Bring it on. If that's what you want, bring it on."
Well, it's certainly on the table. It is on the table, and I think that Europe has been trying to figure out how to mobilize their infrastructure in order to do this, right? But what they really want is they want the United States to go in and do the heavy lifting. That's what they really want. And to this point, even though we've sent this a shit ton of money, and we have some advisors that are there and have been since 2022, we're not in an all-out ground war against Russia. This is one of our proxy wars. It's a war that's failing. Before we get out of here, what are your thoughts on Venezuela, which seems to be the Ukraine? What are your thoughts?
A strange distraction to, I think, install the drug cartels in Mexico and have them just totally dominate the trafficking into the United States, particularly fentanyl, and using Venezuela as a distraction, decoy. And then being the real prize being to get a hold of some of the oil.
Right. What about, because it feels to me like if we're looking at the world as a game of Risk, that Ukraine has some resources, and of course, Russia has a footprint in the eastern part of the country, but China doesn't seem all that invested in Ukraine. China is very invested in Venezuela. And,
yeah, that's true.
And they have been working with the Maduro government for the last 4 or 5 years to digitize everything, right? To create a social credit score and a UBI system. So while the United States has been waggling its sword at Venezuela, China's been involved with building their infrastructure, and China sees Venezuela as an important part.
Well, they've also really armed Venezuela. Venezuela's got all these anti-aircraft launchers.
Well, they've got them from the Russians. I think they've got S-300s. And an S-300 could reach Miami in about one of their hypersonic missiles in about...
I can't imagine flying over Venezuela. That'd be kind of rough. It's very mountainous. It's kind of gullies and hills, and it's kind of interesting terrain.
Commercial airlines have suspended flights to Venezuela now. So is Venezuela going to become the next Ukraine? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, I guess in this case, it's going to be the United States is going to be laying out the blood.
Yeah, it's not going to be. Colombia is not going to go after Venezuela. I can tell you that right now.
No.
Right. So
there's one more pretty good one. Israeli KK kids cheer for Smoltryk like he was a member of a boy band. This is kind of interesting.
All right, let me get back here. Yeah, I don't see that. I got Malay launches Isaac Accords, Pam Bondi, Ukraine.
November 30th. Right under the Ukraine corruption situation, the next story down.
Okay. How do I extend your page? Hold on. I see. There we go. So this is video. Here we go. All right. So, and who is Smotrich? Can you tell people who?
He's the Likudnik. I think he's like Minister of Interior, some high-ranking official, a fanatic, a genocide. He's been kind of outspoken on the genocide, the need for exterminating Amalek.
All right, here we go. So this is what they like on TikTok. This is what they want the algorithm to push.
I don't think that's true at all. Netanyahu is the longest sitting prime minister in Israeli history. Every few years, they report Netanyahu is going.
Isn't that what's his name?
Yeah, Finkelstein.
Finkelstein.
He makes a very valid point that I've been making all along, where people try to give the Jew.
Netanyahu is the longest sitting prime minister in Israeli history. Every few years, they report Netanyahu is going. Netanyahu is going. Netanyahu is out. Netanyahu is finished. No, he's not. And you know why? Because he's an obnoxious, narcissistic Jewish supremacist. And that's Israeli society.
Wow.
Obnoxious, narcissistic Jewish supremacist. When they see him, they see themselves. So there may be quarrels on this policy issue and that policy issue, but at the end of the day, they keep voting for him. And they vote for him because Netanyahu is not just the face of, he's the reality of Israeli society.
Yeah.
Wow. That is, and then we have,
and then this one right here. If you could bring that clip up.
Yeah, we're working on it. Uh-oh, looks like I might be gone. I think it's gone. I think that clip is gone.
Yeah,
it got removed.
All right. Well, what it shows is a bunch of Israeli students just surrounding Smoltrix like he's a member of a boy band. Just oh.
Well, this is not the clip that TikTok wants with Finkelstein. That is not.
No, but there's another clip above that. You're saying it's gone.
I know. Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently, it didn't fit the algorithm. Ben Shapiro approves that clip is gone. So there we go, Russ.
Yeah.
An hour 59, 2 hours of Russ Winter and winterwatch.net. If you haven't subscribed to his website, you can go there, get notifications, keep up with the RSS feed. He's also on Twitter at New Nationalist. You can find him over there on Twitter as well. And he's here once every month. So, Russ, we'll see you. I guess we'll see you next year, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like our new YouTube format's going pretty well.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. We're good here. You know, I think we've achieved a sense of homeostasis amongst our point of view and at times differing opinions. But I've never had a problem with our differing opinions. I feel like it's been a really healthy exercise in sorting things out that we don't always agree upon. And I've actually,
I've learned
a lot. I've learned a lot.
I noticed the audience has kind of evolved, and there were some opponents of me in particular that they've either kind of disappeared or they've changed. Maybe a combination of both. There's not as many apologists as there were.
Well, I think when it gets into the subject of Trump, that there are people who still really want to believe that he has our best interests at heart. And they're Americans, right? They see like Trump as kind of the last ditch hope for America. And I can understand why they may take issue with a few things because they've invested a lot in somebody that could help them, quote unquote, keep the dream alive. And for people,
well, I've had a lot invested with America and the American dream, and not so much different politicians. I mean, I was certainly not just jump on board some politician, but ultimately, everybody's got to put the big boy pants on and grow up and grow a pair.
Well, people are known by their works and not what they say. And we're going to be closing in February on a year into the golden age. And we're still waiting for some of that gold. So, all right, Russ. All right. Happy Merry Christmas. And we'll see you next year.
All right, see y'all.
Okay, the great Russ Winter. There he goes. All right.
How do I sign? How do I get off of here?
Okay, so before we get out of here, I do have to give a shout out to our guys at Silver-Botanicals who are offering their special for us over here at the 11th house. You're not going to find it anywhere else. And this is the Gift of the Magi special right there. 8 of their fantastic products, including the Gift of the Magi spray, which includes ingredients from the Holy Land. Everything is from the Holy Land in the Bible. This is, you want to get into the essence or the Essene story of the land and what grows there. Well, the Gift of the Magi spray will take you all the way back when Jesus was just a twinkle in God's eye as an Essene. And you can spray that as a personal spray in your space around your home. And then flanking it are some of their great products. I irrigated again today with the Silver Tongue Oral Care, a little dilution of the water for the irrigator. It's great. And you guys have responded like champs with this bundle. And it's for personal use and for a gift as well. And you're getting free shipping on an order that's already 20% off. So the link is in the description for the show, and support our good friends Dean and Ray down at Silver-Botanicals in San Marcos. You won't be disappointed. And your conscience will feel great. You're helping a Main Street business stay alive, bootstrapping their way through the capitalist system, evolving and growing as their products and the needs of their people also continue to evolve and grow. All right, that's it. We'll be back on Sunday night with Sunday Night Astro Live. Thank you all for being here. Chataria, you're the best. Mods, thanks for helping out. As always, use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to set what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Take care and bye for now.